Welcome, everyone. My name is Jeff Lawrence. I'm the Senior Manager here for Question Pro in Canada. And today, we're tackling a challenge that nearly every organization faces. You've got tons of unstructured data, from surveys to support calls to call center data. But what do you actually do with it? AI, and especially large language models, or LLMs, are unlocking new ways to extract insights fast. But that brings a key decision. Do you build your own AI, a native CX solution, or do you buy an existing one? And today we'll walk you through what's possible and what to consider, from the cost and time to value, scalability, flexibility, and your own internal capabilities. Now, to help us make sense of it all, we're joined today by Dr. Narjis Bufadin, the CEO of Keytext. She has a PhD in computational linguistics and over 15 years in the field. She brings a unique mix of both deep technical knowledge and real-world application, which is exactly what we need for this conversation. Our discussion today should run us about 30 minutes, and Dr. Bufadin's generously agreed to stick around for another 15 minutes or so to answer your individual questions. Let's dive in. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I'm really glad to have the chance to talk about this hot topic. And we're going to look first to discuss the different aspects or factors that can influence the decision of the buy versus build. So in order to help with those strategic choices, I thought it would be interesting to have an illustration, a chart that actually shows side by side the factors that should be considered in the build versus buy decision. There are multiple dimensions. Just to explain a little bit, low effort, high efforts, so 0 for low efforts and 10 for high efforts. And I'm going to start with the initial investment. That's obviously the higher level, questions that comes right at the beginning. Okay, how much money or efforts does it cost if I want to start, this endeavor? Mm-hmm. And obviously, when you are buying a solution, that comes with a lower upfront, because the only thing that you need to do is actually spend some time to validate whether or not that solution is good for you. But when you are, moving to think about the building the solution, then there is a lot of things that need to align before getting to do that process. And that comes from understanding your needs, understanding what do you have and what do you need to add. And I'm going to address that about the expertise and what type of costs need to be considered. So all in all, the initial investment is really much lower when you are buying a solution versus you want to build your own solution. What comes with this and correlates with this is the time to market. When we talk about initial investment that are much higher with the build option, obviously it means that it will take more time, more money, more time. So the time to market will be considerably higher when you're building your own solution. And you've mentioned it, like the LLM, which now is definitely the big deal here, is actually adding a layer of complexity. So that means that you really need to consider very carefully whether you want to go to build your own solution or buy what's available in the market. Now let's look to the customization, because usually when people think about the build option, it's because they identified specific needs. They consider that they have unique needs that are not met by solutions in the market, and which obviously can happen. And what we tend to see is that in many cases there are really important needs, unique needs for businesses that cannot be met by solutions. So yes, that definitely will be, more flexible when you build it. It will be answering that specific need. It would be more appropriate to develop or build your own solution. But again, we're going to see that a little bit later. In many cases, while businesses are doing their analysis of their needs and thinking about, their needs are very customized, very specific. After further analysis and maybe sometime even developing the solution, they end up understanding that actually that could have been addressed with solution existing in the space, in the market. So again, that that factor, I would say, would take considerable time to identify, validate, and make sure that this is really unique needs that require building your own solution.
Hmm.
Now, let's address another aspect, which touches the expertise. When you decide to build a solution, it's like creating a new software, right?
Mhm.
It's not just, you know, a small endeavor. You have to think about the end user. You have to think about how easy it is for the end user, your stakeholders, to use your solution. You need to think about, okay, do we need expertise in LLM? Do we need expertise in data science, like data analysis, BI? So these are different areas that probably will need to be considered when looking to the expertise that you need to have in your team to move forward with the build option. These are
Okay.
different. Yeah, go ahead. I thought you
No,
had
I was
a.
gonna say is I was gonna say that there's it looks like there's 8 or 9 of them on there. I was gonna ask, it looks like there's quite a few different options and categories that you selected to be able to figure out if you should buy it for your build. Could you maybe walk through each individual one and maybe explain why you chose or why each one of those is so important?
Absolutely. So all of this is actually tied to, the cost of ownership. At the end of the day, it's all about addressing all the different elements that would impact the cost of ownership, because the cost of ownership covers pretty much everything. How
Right.
many people do you need in your team? What type of
Mhm.
the expert like of expertise? Do you need to like you need to think about maintenance support? You need to think about do you need to integrate different data sources? So
Mhm.
all of these factors actually are all contributing into the cost of acquisition, and that remains the, I would say, the only metrics that probably would matter the most when you are taking that decision of the buy versus build. At the end of the day, given the return on investment, what would be that cost? So another part or factor that is contributing and impacting the cost of ownership is definitely the control and flexibility. When
Mhm.
you think about building your own solutions, because as I've mentioned earlier, you think that what's in the market is not actually meeting your needs.
Yep.
And you're right, right? Like if you think that this is the way to go, it's because you need more control, more flexibility. And when we talk about flexibility, is the ability to change, to increase, like the, let's say, the like the features, the use of that solution. And when we talk about control, it's definitely about controlling the data. Now think of security, governance, think of some legal reasons why you would like to have a total control of your data, which might not necessarily be always the case. Where you're working with a provider. Maybe another aspect that is definitely worth mentioning is, and I think we addressed this a little bit, which is the customization. So the customization again touches what you would like to do, and if whether or not a solution that exists in the market that might probably be generic, addressing many use cases, typical use cases, not be a fit for you. And if you go with the build, you're definitely getting more customization, because basically your end user will be your actually the people who would be guiding the product roadmap, if I might say so.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, but but based on this, it looks like there's almost no good reason why someone would go out there and build. The only one that looks like it's obvious is maybe the initial cost, but it sounds like it comes down to cost of ownership. So maybe let me ask an obvious question: is there anyone out there who actually should consider building this, and if so, who?
Absolutely. So you're totally right. So when you are a big company, you have highly specialized vocabulary. You
Mhm.
have multimodal data, meaning that it's not just unstructured data that will help you take decisions. You need the insights from the unstructured data, and you need numbers. Think of the value of the deal, think of number of clicks on the website if this is part of the buying process.
Right.
Think of the number of direct interactions that they've had, let's say, with customer support agent. So when taking the decision, getting to do something takes a lot of different types of data. You probably would like to go with a customized solution because it's really unique for your business.
Right.
Um, Another also factor would be when, we've addressed rightly like highly specialized vocabulary. I'm
Mhm.
thinking about legal, for instance. Uh,
Yeah.
right, like a lot of legal firms have actually developed their own models, their own technology. They trained on their own data, which that specialized vocabulary, and they are making sure that the data remains in their infrastructure. So there are multiple concerns that are pushing them to go towards move towards the build option. um, and then probably another thing that would help decide towards building is whether you want to include intelligence to improve the operations. So actionable intelligence, and I think the keyword actionable is really important here
Go
because
on.
right operations needs concrete values, like
Mhm.
specific values to take decision to trigger some processes. So you really need to have that actionable insight that can be easily integrated with other type of data. I was talking about numbers, like that would trigger some actions. So this is another use case where building is definitely the way to go because of that requirement.
Okay, so it sounds like there's only two main use cases, or two different scenarios where you'd really want to consider building it out yourself. Now, what happens if you're not in one of those two different camps? Like, inversely, who should be buying? And if you are looking to buy, what are the steps? What are the criteria? What's really important to figure out when you're looking for a buy solution?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good. I think there are multiple factors to consider when you decide to go with the buy decision.
Mhm.
I just kept some of them because I felt like that would definitely be, along the lines that we've kind of talked about at the very
Mhm.
beginning. And that would touch, for instance, the integration. So if
Yeah.
you do have multiple data sources, you have your contact center. So you have your help desk platform, you have your survey platform,
Mhm.
you have, you have reviews actually on e-commerce websites.
Yeah.
And you would like to integrate all the insights. You don't want to start messing up with, okay, how do I integrate the data? So you want to make sure that the solution you are going with is capable of collecting all those type of data sources, analyzing them, and then providing unified views. So
Yeah. Fair enough.
integration, omnichannel analysis is definitely something very important, specifically nowadays where we are looking to have the full picture of the customer journey. We're looking to, avoid blind spots. We would like to understand, okay, what's happening from all the different channels to get a better understanding of, the customer experience.
Mhm.
Scalability and future growth, and that goes again, it's actually tied also to the number of the data source you would like to analyze, but also to the growth of the company. So if you go with a solution, you probably would like to make sure that that solution is capable of analyzing tens of thousands of customer feedback,
A lot.
quickly.
Mhm.
You don't want to wait for hours to get the insights. You don't want to wonder whether or not you will be able to ingest everything. You will be able to get insights covering all the different that volume of insights. So scalability, it's important. Future growth, it's also include, okay, today I'm focusing on surveys, tomorrow I'd like to bring contact center data.
Right.
And next year, I'd like to work on my brand reputation. I'd like to add, reviews from all the channels, e-commerce websites that I'm using to position my product in the market.
Okay. So it sounds like bringing it all together under one roof.
Exactly. And the third point, which I guess is very important from an operational perspective, which is okay, how easy it is for me to implement that solution. Do I need 6 months to be able to start working with the solution? And when we are talking about implementing the solution, it really touches two things:
Hmm.
the setup and the customization.
Right.
So every business comes with its own vocabulary, its specific, it's in one specific industry, right?
Hmm.
It has its own business knowledge, its own processes, its own customer journey. Uh,
Hmm.
all those specific things constitute business knowledge. So, how easy it is to introduce, to incorporate that business knowledge so the solution can work properly and work for you the way you want. And you've probably seen before, people having to, for instance, define dictionaries, ontologies, lists of keywords,
Oh yeah.
um, and put that in software so the software can actually understand what is a relevant concept, an important concept that needs monitoring versus something that is not worth monitoring. Now, this is slowly changing. There are some software that who are already addressed that issue. Some other remain, tied with this concept. So it's really important to ask to see how easy it is. And the best thing that could happen is actually for you to not have to do that, to
Yeah.
not
100%.
have to, right? Because obviously, if you were asked to provide the list of keywords, if you're asked to provide some cues about that business knowledge, I guess you're already missing the point. Because I guess the first question that a CX analyst or CX manager would ask is, tell me something I don't know,
That's right. That's very right.
right? So, looking for solutions that can instantly understand the business knowledge or at least very little effort is critical. Having that plug and play, okay, I can just load the data through integration, through connectivity, native connectors, and then everything is already set up and insights as are provided right out of the bat. I don't need to do a lot of things. I don't need to spend time, efforts, trying to customize, tune, tweak, like all that step. If there is a way to get a solution, and there is, to get solutions that can minimize that aspect, bingo, that's definitely one of the important criteria to consider.
Okay, so actually, on that note, I don't want to skip that because you mentioned it sounds like that there are some solutions out there that offer you the best of both worlds. So, how have you guys specifically solved that?
Sure, that's a good question. It's good to showcase some of the examples and the type of value you can get. So let me first start with a first use case that I felt would be interesting, and that would be the contact center operations at a
Yeah.
global retailer. So this is one of our customers, and I won't be mentioning specific names, but I'm going to talk about the use case, the struggle they have, in what way we help them, and in what way we were able to answer the questions rapidly, in no time, and actually help them effectively solve their issues. So this is a big household name. They have a huge online presence. They sell online, and
Mhm.
they also sell through the contact center. So you'll have because they have actually B2B part of the business. So that business will call them to ask for orders, like create, like, okay, I need to buy this,
Yeah.
or they're gonna contact them because they have issues with orders and so on and so forth.
Sorry, actually, Dr. Bufan, if you don't mind, I just realized that we're about 20 minutes in, and we've gone through quite a bit. So just in case anyone has any questions or comments, please don't be shy. Put them into the comment section. We'll make sure to revisit them again. Sorry. Please go on to your use case and explain it.
Yeah, sure. So the agents were swamped. A lot of waiting time. Sometimes they missed the calls.
Mhm.
And the issue was, okay, can we at least find ways, get some insights to reduce the number of calls? Reduce the volume of calls, just to make sure that the customer experience is better. And the way to do that was to, okay, is there something that we can automate? So the solution to that, we actually give them analyze like they have roughly near 100,000 calls per year. And the way we did that is actually through the platform identifying the most recurring questions. And I have a slide for this, next slide, where we were able to understand, to look for what are the main reasons for call,
Mhm.
and what are the main questions. And what we've noticed actually is that we've more than 46% of those calls were things about, okay, I need information, I need the order status, I
Right.
need you understand what is the policy about, like the return policies. It
Mhm.
was mostly information they needed to get, that they could easily get from the website if the information was there, or even a chatbot that would automate answers. Give me, the order
Right.
number, and then the chatbot would answer that.
Sorry, if I understand that, it sounds like you're saying almost half the calls were people calling and asking questions with information they could reasonably find either online or through an online portal.
Exactly. So it's a lot of money actually. It impacted, yeah. So we've kind of, some numbers. We found that it's roughly about $300,000, you know, uh, money that was, left, I would say, or spent for things that could be automated.
Wow.
And then we can see that in the ROI for next slide, if we can move it to the next slide. And that's an interesting one because, like, you have already your team of agents. They are actually not answering 10% of the calls because they are busy with other calls that might be irrelevant, in the sense that, or could be addressed differently with looking to
Right.
the website, getting the chat bot. So we help that business instantly identifies those issues, and identifying training opportunities to actually show or tell customers, okay, you can have that information on the website, or you can use the chatbot.
Mm.
So it's it's really a wonderful way to very quickly get a sense of, okay, this is the picture, these are the issues, these are the numbers that will actually fuel your decision, because you need numbers to build
Right.
a business case, right? And then what type of return on investment you can get. And that
Okay.
was how we helped that business, and it was instant because our platform is actually capable of capturing the business knowledge. They, like, within a month they were able to get that insights.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like this was used largely within the only one. Is it one feedback funnel? Is how you would call it? But what happens? What happens if you have multiple feedback funnels? And the reason I'm asking is because most of our customers will have both survey data, as well as they're going to have, the most common one is contact center data. So
Yeah,
how would you solve if you have, or maybe more, how would you solve if you have multiple sources of feedback data?
yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that we do in the platform is the ability to combine different data sets or different sources
Yeah.
of feedback, with the intent of unifying, the insights, CX insights. And I've mentioned, like, this is really a trend, a strong trend we're seeing in the market. People are looking for solutions that can combine all the
Yeah, that's
different
right.
feedback sources. And so in this particular use case, this is, and I'm going to go very quickly in this one. So this is a credit union, agency. They have, we've called it Harmony Credit, but basically they were getting, those thousands of calls again from the contact center, lots of support tickets. And they're really getting, a very interesting, feedback from the agents. Everything is running smoothly. Everything is good. Customers are
Mhm.
happy. But then on the other side, the CX team was running post-call surveys. So the
Right.
post-call, analyzing post-call surveys. And they were seeing that, what? The NPS is not that high. We're
Mm.
getting low NPS. So there was a disconnect. And it was really a challenge for them to be able to link those two different data sources, understand the root causes for this disconnect. So with the solution we were able to take all that information, the Pascal surveys and the contact center. And with one of the features we've had, which is the key drivers analysis, we were able to pull insights like most frequent topics, more frequent issues, questions, and link that to the NPS score. And we were able to see actually what was the issue and hint the manager where he should focus first. And among the things showed up, as we can see on the screen, is the process. So the process of answering some specific answers was actually wrong. In specifically in that use case, agents were actually giving information, answering a question about that was coming from a customer, but they weren't giving the right answer because there was some specific about his account that would make his answer inappropriate. It would be another resolution for him. So the agent was saying, yes, I answered correctly. And the customer even said, thank you. He
Right.
really was happy. But later on, looking to the NPS for that specific survey as specific customer, it wasn't good.
Hmm.
So we were able to, by unifying the different data sources, we were able to pinpoint where the discrepancies and then simplify, the investigation process of going from the NPS to which actually issue is the reasons for low NPS. And that allowed also to identify and validate some, training opportunities with concrete example. Because we were able to bring, the exact part of the transcript that
Okay.
was where the information, the wrong information, if you want, was actually provided to the customer.
Okay.
So again, we helped them. It wasn't quantified in terms of money, in terms of dollars, but obviously by reducing the time required to investigate, that obviously had an impact on the time,
Mhm.
money, and bringing more opportunities to train agents.
So it sounds like you're saying that when you have multi channels for feedback, especially with survey and an obvious one is a contact center, which most of our clients will have, um, a big use case for this is being able to find out the disconnect, if there is, why an NPS score may not be matching up other concurrent data, which is admittedly uncovering something that was previously unknown. And it sounds like speed to action in this case is quite useful. So moving on, then, let me ask you, because a lot of our clients on here are, I'm sure, curious about what the actual integration between Question Pro and Keytext looks like, as well as if you're not currently a client or you're looking for a total overall solution. Could you just walk through what that looks like as an overall, as well as maybe put together a bit of a quick little summary of the key takeaways that we've gone through so far?
Absolutely. Yes, and thank you for the answer. So for sure, we have a native connector, and that's something that we can use actually to seamlessly bring, like, upload the data from Question Pro and then return back the dashboards that would help, what that would be included with the other dashboards already provided by Question Pro. So it's a two-way integration. In
Right.
one way, we pull the data, and the other way, we pull the dashboards that showcases key drivers and main issues and so on and so forth.
Okay, so that sounds like it addresses the importance of speed, right? Having the
Yes,
integration. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. And
So
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say we've addressed quite a bit through this. It may be useful to give maybe a handful of key takeaways, and then we can jump right into the end, and then go into the Q&A.
Yeah, sure. So I think we have addressed three things here. Like the in-house build, if you look to this option, like it's really targeted for organization handling big data. So we talked about multimodal data, so specialized data, and with career CX alignment, if you are looking to bring insight or uh, actionable intelligence into operations, definitely this is a use case for building in-house your solution. However, if you are not in that category of businesses, you might actually be more keen to look for solutions that exist. And then it's interesting to look for solutions that are already integrating Gen AI
Yeah.
solutions with minimum setup for knowledge business acquisition. As I explained, this is actually what impacts the time to insight. And the third element is strong integration, specifically if you're looking to leverage all the different feedback channel that you already have. And then if you're still in undecided, you still don't know, you're early in the process, you are starting actually, a CX, I would say process, with all the different, structure, and you would like to get a
Mhm.
sense of, okay, how should I start? Then go try free trials. Like there's so many providers who are offering free trials. That's
Mhm.
the best way to not only understand if that meets your needs, but also maybe making sure that what is exactly that you would like to see. It's just a way, no costs to better build your business case, I would say, before taking that decision.
Okay. So, how would if someone had any questions for you, how would they get in touch with you? Or I think you have a unique offer for those who are here right now. No.
Absolutely. So I know this is a lot of material, and probably you have a couple of questions even later when discussing this with your team. So I definitely will be available for a free consultation. We do, as many other providers provide offer free trials, so that could be also an option. So please feel free. You have a QR code there. You can just take it and then connect later to get access to that offer, free consultation.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bufaden, for being here. We're going to move on to the questions. So I think the first question that I had up is actually for us here at Question Pro. I think the first one was, I think it's Adam who asks, yeah, how do you get clients to fill out an NPS survey? Which is a good question, and I'm gonna try and keep the answer relatively short, but also thorough enough to give you enough insights on it. So there's a handful of things. Number one, very simply, it can just be a simple distribution problem. Like, for example, if you're one way that we help solve them, this is a real life case, is a company, TELUS. If you're in Canada, you're familiar with their telecom giant. We actually help them utilize our intercept, so it'll pop up. So having more people see your NPS question, your questionnaire that'll lead to an NPS at the right moment, which is the second part to that answer, is extraordinarily valuable. The other thing that you can do is have a phenomenal closed loop. Now, I'm obviously quite biased, okay, but we are phenomenal. I would even say best in the industry at closing the loop. And I'll give you a really good example. Most people in today's market are oversaturated with surveys. Everyone is asking you questionnaires. And so what people will often find is that they don't get a resolution, especially relatively immediately. So one of the unique tools that we have is you can actually close the loop right then and there. Instead of having someone flow down a journey where you recognize that they're not happy, you can pause the survey right then and there, and then put them into an actual closed loop where you can put them directly. You can get a ticket set up. You can alert the right person internally. And you can actually have them book in a call either right then and there or at a future date at their convenience. So that way they can get the resolution that they want right away. And what you'll often find is that can lead maybe a detractor all the way up to a promoter. Handful of other things that we've seen work extraordinarily well in the industry is leveraging a community. Now, it's a shameless plug on our end, but the reality is, if you're a large enough enterprise, your customers are out there talking anyway. A good example is if you Google Reddit, Bell, or anything like that, they already have communities out there. And what a community will actually do is it'll allow you to control the narrative, and you can ask and get instant insights directly from the people that are interacting with your organization. And you can use that. We've seen people use that to leverage more specific journey mapping, so that way you can get the right actions at the right time for the right client profile. If you have any questions, I know that was fairly brief. So if you have any questions, you can put them, or if you want to reach out for more, just simply put them in the comments. But I think there's another question coming in, I think for you, Dr. Bufaden.
Yes. All right. So how do we ensure those signals actually lead to action, especially when teams are already overwhelmed with competing priorities? I think there is. Okay, it was a question about LLMs. I understand. Okay, so one of the important things when it comes to how can you bring those insights that you're getting, like signals, as mentioned, to be taken care of and prioritized for that. There are two things that, as a CX specialist or expert, you can do. The first one is obviously getting strong statistics about it, like evidence that this is something impacting the NPS or impacting a satisfaction score. The second is building empathy. So, how do you build empathy? To build empathy, it's good to bring those customer stories about that specific issue, even if it's a weak signal. I mean, it's it's good. It brings awareness with stakeholders or the management to understand why this is important, why this should be prioritized. Sometimes by bringing context, it's much easier to convince the executive about what priorities need to be considered, and how to reorganize the priorities based on how it's perceived by customers. And adding those customer stories, the context, is definitely a good way to achieve that.
Okay. Is there any other particular questions? Maybe we can read them across the screen. No, it looks like we're good for today. So we may be finishing early. So I would like to thank you, Dr. Bufaden, for coming on here, sharing your wisdom, walking us through how you make sense of unstructured data, especially how you use it to make actionable insights. If anyone has any questions, you're free to reach out to either Dr. Bufaden at KeyText or us at Question Bro. Thank you very much for your time. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.